everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So before I dive into today's episode, which is talking all things summer. Oops, sorry about that, guys. So we're talking all things Summer House season 9. I'm also going to weave in a little bit of the Paige and Craig breakup, but basically I'm going to go through all of the dynamics from casting to fake storylines to mean girls to jealousy to frenemies. So before we dive in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. It is a fun and free and easy way to support me and the channel. And let's have a fun chat. Be sure to say hi in the chat box, drop your name, where you're listening from, and all of your thoughts. So with that, let's go. All right. So let's first talk about the hypocrisy, delusions, and the mean girls of it all when it comes to Kyle and Amanda, Paige and Craig, and our girl Ciara. Now, I've never been a giggly squatter. I've never been a Paige fan. I've never been a Ciara fan. I've never been a Hannah fan. Just not my personal cup of tea. I clocked these girls from day one that they were very fake and that they were very performative and that they were mean. I thought that they were very mean girls. They're really nice to each other, but sometimes in an even a nice, nasty way. Remember last season when Ciara said to Amanda, do you think you have a personality or a life outside of Kyle? Because I don't. And I was like, whoa, that you can give your friend feedback, but that was nasty. That was nasty work. And then Amanda clocked her right back because in a couple episodes later, she was like, what if the joke is that Wes was just the joke is on you. Wes was just joking about dating you or something along those lines. But it was a good clap back. And I was like, girl, bye, girl, bye, girl, bye, girl, bye. Anyway, that's just sort of how I said it. But let's talk about double standards here. So clearly, this whole season, and I also blame producers for this, they're giving Paige and by proxy Ciara a platform to create a narrative around the Paige and Craig breakup in order to protect Paige's image and her persona and her social media and everything she's doing in the Giggly Squad. That is very, very clear. In the confessionals, you see they're wearing different makeup, different clothes. Obviously, they shot the confessional afterwards, and then they had these sort of set up conversations for Paige to get her narrative bashing Craig out there. In this past episode, they're like, oh my gosh, I have all this anxiety about the conversation me and Ciara had when Craig sees it, blah, 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 blah. No, girl, you have anxiety because you're faking a relationship. You have anxiety because you're lying and you're a hypocrite. You're going after Craig. And let me do this quick caveat. I am not Team Craig either because he's MAGA and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Not any weird conspiracy beliefs because I love a good conspiracy. But the whole MAGA stuff, miss me with all that. That's not allegedly, let's just say alleged. So miss me, Craig. But in this particular context, Craig is a hater. He's hating on my career. He doesn't want me to be a strong, independent girl. I'm the breadwinner. I'm confused, Paige. When did you become the breadwinner? Wasn't it last season you were worried about not being able to afford a certain amount of rent? And he was like, I'll cover it for you. And you told him no. And wasn't it last season or 2 seasons ago, your parents were still paying your rent? And wasn't it also I'm just confused. So don't talk about to me, it was just toxic. And this is another thing I want to say about them. Hannah and Paige, Ciara and Amanda. It's this very toxic feminism that I'm just really not into. Me, I am very, very feminist, but the way that I define being a feminist is that a woman is allowed to pursue her life however she chooses to without the threat to her life, liberty, or happiness. You want to be a stay-at-home mom? Knock yourself out. You want to be an entrepreneur? Knock yourself out. You want to be an SCS worker? Knock yourself out. I don't think that a woman should have to be anything that she doesn't want to be. And if she chooses to be something, it should not come at a cost of being shamed or harmed or killed or any of those things. To me, that's what being a feminist is. Believing in the authenticity of a woman's right to choose to be whoever or however she wants to be without the threat of harm. Not this whole men are horrible and they're awful and blah, blah, blah. I'm this strong, independent woman. Miss me with all that. Because on the flip side, Kyle and Amanda, it's just the genders are reversed. When Kyle wanted to make sure that he was financially secure enough, he wanted to focus on his, career and on Loverboy. All of a sudden, Amanda or Paige and Ciara were like, oh, you're immature. You need to focus on Amanda. You need to prioritize her in the relationship. You should just give up Loverboy. So I'm confused. When Kyle says, I want to make sure we're financially secure, I want to focus on my business, I want to make sure we're in a good place before we take that next step in our relationship, all of a sudden he's this evil, mean monster who's playing Amanda. But when Paige says, I want to focus on my career, I want to make sure I'm financially in a place before I take that next step with Craig, and Craig says, just like Amanda did, I want to be a priority. I'm confused. I want to move forward. All of a sudden, Paige is like this amazing independent woman, and Craig is this hater. Make that make sense. It doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, nobody is wrong and nobody is right. It just means that they are not in the same place. Amanda and Kyle, in my opinion, need to divorce. I don't see this working. Paige and Craig, they were pretty much already broken up, and it was just a first show persona relationship, partnership, in my personal opinion. I think she was out of it before he was, but it was pretty much done. It just means that you're not in the right place at the right time. I think the whole villainizing Craig, being a hater, I think all of that was just narrative for Paige because she wanted to play the victim in the breakup. You know what I'm saying? That's really where it boils down to me. She wanted to be the victim in the breakup. She said it. She's like fake crying on the bed. My anxiety is horrible. And like, what if I break up with him and this all goes away? Okay. How about, and again, another level of hypocrisy with this. These women, Amanda, Paige, and Ciara, crucified West, crucified him because he simply was not. Let me see if I have a slide on that one or if it's this one. Well, we'll do it on this page. That's fine. So these women basically crucified Wes Wilson because he just wasn't that into Ciara, which is totally fine. And they were like, oh, he cares about the comment section. All he cares about is how is he going to look, to social media and all of the people and the blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, duh. He's on a reality TV show dating somebody on the same show. Of course he's worried about how he's going to look. And him and Ciara were together for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months tops. Get out of here. Wes and Ciara, that wasn't a real relationship. Sure, he took it to see the family, but that was some weird, knock it off, Ciara. You and Wes were not that serious. Knock it off. For the way you're treating this person, you would have thought you were together for 7 years and he slept with your best friend the night before your wedding and you were publicly shamed for that. The way you treat this man, that's how you act. Girl, bye, okay? Anyway, now we're seeing how Paige and Ciara are worried about how Paige is going to look. So Paige, you're worried about the comment section. Didn't Ciara say, do what you would do if no one was looking? Well, Wes did what he would do if nobody was looking. Break up with you because he wasn't that into you. But all of a sudden, when it's Paige and she's worried about the comment section, she's worrying about her giggly squad, the press tours, the social media partnerships. She's worried about her coin and her public image. And to be honest with you, I think that's okay. She's a public figure. That's how she makes her money. I get it. She's worried about her reputation. That's fine. But don't villainize West for having the same exact human reaction, worrying about his livelihood, his public image, how the world is going to perceive him. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's why I don't rock with these girls. They're mean and they're nasty and they're not girls. They're for each other, perhaps, sometimes. I don't know how genuine these female friendships are. I don't know. I'm clocking a little bit of tension between Paige and Ciara. It doesn't look like it on the surface, but my candy senses, there's something going on between Paige and Ciara. Maybe a little bit of a resentment, a little bit of bitterness. I don't know. I think it's more on Paige's side than Ciara's side. Do you know what I mean? So for me, miss me with all this and the whole who cheated conversation. I don't think, and again, this is just my opinion, and let me say that up front. Everything in this video, just my opinion, just allege. I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose. I'm going to be calling people certain things that I think is going on, but I'm not a doctor. This is just my opinion. So nobody from Summer House sue me because I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to be. Okay. All right. Who really cheated between Paige and Craig? I think that she did. I don't think that Craig cheated on Paige. This whole he was texting other girls, I gave him so much grace. I don't buy that for 1 second. I think that Paige had been checked out of the relationship. She was ready to level up in her career. She was ready to level up in her romantic partnership. I think she wanted somebody who was cooler, maybe a little bit more street cred, like the Joe guy, someone who had more money in a much more flashier, livelier way. I think Paige wants to be like that girl, you know what I mean? Like she wants to be that Instagram girl flying all over the place, dating a multi-millionaire, courtside seats, yachts and private jets and wearing like next to nothing clothes. Like that's the life Paige wants. Where Craig is like, I just want to kind of like be at my house and you come over. You know what I mean? So in my gut, I think that she had dipped out before, but he didn't. And she's now making these texts seem like something that she knows that they weren't. And the reason why I think that is, and another reason why I think that, not just because that's the obvious one, but because again, Paige is so clearly tied to her being the victim of the breakup. So it doesn't mess up her reputation. The easiest way for her to have been the victim was to say, oh my God, I caught him with another girl. I caught him texting another girl. I can't believe this. He's been texting these girls, and then cry to Ciara about it. And then it would be like Ariana 2.0 or whatever the case is. Can you believe it? Craig cheated on Paige. That would have been the easiest out for her without her breaking up with him, or just because they were no longer compatible. I think that would have been the easiest out, and it would have made by default her the victim of the breakup. So the fact that she didn't do that, I'm calling BS on that. I'm no, girl. You're only now saying, oh, he was texting other girls because the narrative didn't automatically go your way. And everybody was like, oh, were you cheating on him with Joe? Joe was engaged to this other girl, Rachel. You were trying to get him to break up with his then fiance so you could date him. And now blah, 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 blah. That's not cool. And people were kind of clocking her for her hypocrisy and her negativity and everything. Whereas I think she thought that all this played this victim, and I can break up with Craig and still have my little giggly squad persona going on. So no, if he was cheating on you, or if you thought he really was, you would have used that, but you didn't. You waited to make it up after. Girl, bye. So that's kind of where I stand on these guys, this whole situation. Now, let's talk about the hypocrisy, delusions, mean girls, two-faced fake friends of it all. Now we're going to talk about Lexi and Jesse and Wes and all of this hot nonsense. Now, may this type of friendship never find me. May these types of girls, because they're not acting like women, may they never find me. Ever. First up, I think, and this is a hot take, I think Paige is jealous of Lexi. And what I mean by that is Lexi is society, like she's not my type of woman beauty, but it doesn't matter. Overly speaking, commercially speaking, societally speaking, Lexi is a very beautiful girl. She's real thin. She has the lips. She's a model. She's she dated Brooklyn Beckham and, like Cindy Crawford's son. She's like this model. She's super tiny. She's like, I'm from Canada. And she said all these like, great exes or whatever. I think that there's a part, and she's like in her 20s. Paige is like, I think 30, 31 maybe. I think that there's a part of Paige that is envious and jealous of that youth and of that beauty and of, dating the type of guys, maybe not that age, but those types of guys that Paige clearly wants to be dating and wants to be doing. I think that there is a little bit of jealousy there. And Paige masks that jealousy as, oh, I'm just a girl's girl. And like, girl, I'm just coming to you like women. Like, I'm just want to give you this advice, blah, blah, blah. Girl, Paige, you do not like Lexi. Stop fronting. And Amanda is trash too. Amanda brought Lexi on the show, claiming to be her friend, but barely talks to her on the show. I don't see Lexi talking to anybody on the show except for Jesse and West. I don't see the girls really talking to her unless they're giving her horrible, horrible advice, trying to sabotage her relationship with Jesse. Amanda then goes and tries to put Jesse and Ciara together. So literally, you bring Lexi on the show. You see that Lexi and Jesse are kicking it together. They are vibing. Lexi clearly likes Jesse. They have something going on. And the next thing out of your mouth is Jesse and Ciara should get together. I thought you were a girl's girl, Amanda. I thought you had the girls back. Why would you try to push Jesse and Ciara together when you know your friend who you brought on the show is hooking up with him? Girl, stop. Stop. At least pretend that you're actually friends. Maybe you're not friends in real life, but at least pretend, since that's what you're going to tell us. If you're going to come on the show and say, this is my friend, then at least play the part. Maybe you're not friends in real life, but if you're telling me you're friends on the show, be friends. Or don't even be friends, but like, don't do that. And then try to tell me you're a girl's girl. Absolutely not. And Ciara, girl, Ciara, you need deep, deep, deep therapy. You really do. All y'all do. Because make this make sense. You are crying over West. You still have feelings for him. You're icing him out in a very immature way. You're mad. You're bitter. You're doing the absolute most. Like, girl, stop. But then you're being very middle school by trying to flirt with his best friend, Jesse, and entertain this flirtation. Whether it's a genuine flirtation or not, it's not the best look. If Wes came back this summer and was treating Paige the way that Ciara was treating Jesse, Ciara would lose her damn mind. She would have another breakdown. She would lose her damn mind if Wes slightly looked at Paige the way Jesse and Ciara are going at it. Jesse, I don't even care because I don't take Jesse seriously. I think Jesse, and this is a hot take, I think Jesse and Wes don't really like any of the girls on the cast. I think that they're cool with Carl. They like Carl. I think that they're cool with Kyle. They like Kyle. I don't think they're that into Emerald. I'm going to get to him. I think that they think that Ciara is crazy. And I think that they think that Paige is a brat. And I think that they're pretty much indifferent to Amanda. I think that they front because they like being on the show. I think they front because, yeah, they're on the show. They want to keep their spot on the show. But I don't think they actually like the girls. I think that they think Ciara is crazy. And I don't think Jesse was actually flirting with Ciara. I think he was placating her. Because he was like, oh, I'm going to mend things between Ciara and Wes so everything can be cool. And I'm going to solidify this because maybe it was an after show or an interview or something. But Jesse and Wes were talking about how one time they were driving back from somewhere to somewhere with Ciara. I think this maybe when Ciara and Wes were together, maybe not. It must have been when they were together. And they made some joke or they said something that Ciara didn't like, and maybe she was offended, and she just didn't talk to them for the rest of the ride. And they got out the car to get gas and pee or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, this chick is crazy. And I was like, yeah, they think Ciara is crazy because Ciara is crazy. Not in I'm going to call a woman crazy, bash a woman, mental health. I'm not talking about that. No, absolutely not. What I'm talking about is she's very emotionally stunted, where if you hurt her feelings, she is going to then have a grudge against you for the entire world to see forever. Like it's ridiculous. It's insane. The way she treated Wes and still treats Wes is insane. It's too much. I get the whole New York Times article. I get that. He should have given her a heads up. But still, it's like, it's not like you guys were in like a 7-year engagement and you slept with your best friend before you got married. It's like you guys like kind of flirted for a summer. You finally hooked up in fall and it just didn't work out. Like, what's the big deal? It's way too much. You're doing too much. Also, we see with the girls who are again made this type of female friendship never find me, because the girls in Lexi's face is all like, oh, you should watch out for Jesse. The way he treats girls behind your back when you're not around, he needs to change. He's been so flirty with Ciara and blah, 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 blah. Oh, God, he was all over her. Da, 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 da. If you really, and then Paige is like, if you really want to be his girlfriend, then like he has to change, all that stuff, or you just need to like, break up with him. Basically trying to poison Lexi against Jesse. Then on the flip side, going to Jesse and being like, oh, Lexi's only 26. She's very immature. Oh, she's really jealous. That's weird. You guys are so weird. You're moving way too fast. Like, whoa, what is going on? Like, what? Excuse me. Trying to sabotage Jesse to Lexi. That's nothing but jealousy. Nothing but jealousy. I don't even think they want Jesse like that. They just don't want Lexi to be the center of attention and to have a relationship with Jesse. That's nothing but jealousy. Two-faced as hell. And then when Jesse does change his behavior, because I thought the scene where Jesse tells Ciara, okay, that's enough touching, not enough touching, I thought he was 1,000% justified in that, because when they had been touchy-feely, like he was like, oh, brother and sister, jokey, whatever, we're just doing whatever, all of a sudden the girls twisted that into he was flirting with her, wanting to be with her, being inappropriate, embarrassing Lexi. So then don't then come in my face trying to be touchy-feely. Like, keep it 100. Either you're going to be for real and say that it is what it is, but then don't go behind my back. And then Ciara being like, oh my God, like, really? And being like so taken aback. Well, if you know what I mean? It's like you can't have it both ways. You can't say to Lexi, he needs to change his behavior when it comes to women. And then when he does change his behavior and it just happens to be with you, all of a sudden he's horrible, he's a villain, he's this, he's that, and the third. Which is it? These girls are absolutely delusional. And I do think that they were purposely trying to sabotage Lexi and Jesse. And Ciara, Jesse doesn't want you, and neither does West. Wake up. And I bet you Jesse's going to tell her, no, like the flirting wasn't flirting. It was just like friends, whatever the case may be, trying to smooth over things between her and Wes. And to be honest with you, Ciara even if she thought he was flirting with her, why are you going from Wes to Jesse when you're acting like you're so distraught over Wes? If Wes came into the house trying to go from you to Paige, I'm pretty sure you'd have a very, very different response to that. So stop it. I think Ciara needs to I think she needs to work on herself, her self-love, her self-wealth, because it's not about West. She keeps saying, West used me, he got what he wanted, and then he left me. To me, that sounds like some type of subconscious programming she has where she feels her value and her worth is only in her sexuality and how she looks, and that nobody wants her for anything more. It's giving abandonment issues, whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that in a negative or nasty, mean way. I'm saying that in a very real way that I think the majority of people can identify with at some point in your life. If you've never felt insecure, more power to you. I have in my life. I'm a human being. We all have. That's why you can recognize it in somebody else. It's called empathy and sympathy. So that, to me, this is all a big mess. And Lexi, let this be a lesson to you. Just like Garcelle said, all kinfolk ain't skinfolk, or all skinfolk ain't kinfolk. All girls are not your friends just because they're girls. And you're listening to these girls and they're trying to sabotage your relationship, okay? Now, Wes is just trying not to get canceled. So he's just being quiet, making little funny things here and there because he doesn't want to say anything to piss off Ciara. And then they're going to have the whole weird giggly squad, weird people going after him simply because he's a guy who didn't like a girl. Oh my God, up in arms. Like, get over it. Get over it. Ciara's absolutely delusional. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Paige is jealous. Amanda pushing. Okay, got it. Boundaries. Okay, let's see if we can go to the next slide. And be sure to put all your questions and comments in the chat box. All right. Now let's talk about the cast overall. Okay. It's a little bit boring and it's a little bit bizarre, and I want to know what you guys think. I feel like Summer House has lost its way. It's almost like watching two different shows that neither one of them are quite working in one. We have like the Lexi of it all, and her friend came in with her. I forgot her friend's name, Bailey, I think it was, and Bailey was like absolutely not, and like ended up leaving, whatever the case may be. So Bailey comes in, but Lexi just has such a more younger vibe than like a Paige or even a Ciara. And I think that Ciara and Lexi are closer in age. Then we have Amanda, and then we have Lindsay who's pregnant. Then we have Gabby. Like, it just seems like a hodgepodge. It doesn't seem like that same group of real friends at the same stage in life getting together over a fun and quirky summer. I don't know if the show needs a recast overhaul, because I don't need to watch Amanda anymore, to be honest with you. I would watch more of Kyle, but it's just a hodgepodge. But let's go down with some people. So Gabby, to me, she's a cool girl with low self-esteem, and that breaks my heart because I think Gabby herself, I think she's cool. I think she's interesting. She works in fashion. She has a lot of accolades. She comes from a very great family. I think that she would be really interesting if she knew that she was interesting. The problem with Gabby is that she's too far up Lindsay's butt. She's basically like the new Danielle, but a little less agitating, still by a little bit. But her whole entire personality is being Lindsay's bulldog. And I think that is such a missed opportunity for Gabby. Why don't we see Gabby dating? Why don't we see Gabby at work? Why don't we see Gabby throwing parties? Why don't we see Gabby interacting with the girls? Like, Gabby, to me, her entire beat is defending Lindsay, being Lindsay's right hand, being up Lindsay's butt, basically the Danielle replacement when Lindsay and Danielle had their friendship breakup and then Gabby came on. And my heart bleeds for Gabby because I wish she knew that she's interesting without having to her place only to be Lindsay's sidekick. Do you know what I mean? Like, Gabby, show your life. And I don't think it's editing because she's not doing anything. Like, tell me one thing Gabby is doing on the show other than being Lindsay's mouthpiece that is cool. Like, show us your life. Bring a guy over, break a heart. I don't know, do something. Okay. So Lindsay had her oops baby with Turner, because I don't think that was planned. I think that was like a oops, but you know, all babies are blessings. Word on the street is that they're already broken up. I think that he was just, again, I don't know Turner, I don't know Lindsay. The vibe to me just seemed like, we have this oops baby, she decided to keep it, and he was just placating her until the baby was born, and then they split. That seems to be how it happened, allegedly. To me, Lindsay seems a little bit lost, and I think that but Lindsay is also still trying to push the narrative of being like the next Ariana. Last season, she really tried to be Scandival 2.0. Carl, that was the most biggest betrayal. I was blindsided by this. Blah, like, she really wanted to be the next Ariana. But the problem is Scandival was Scandival because it was so raw and real and unexpected. Whereas I think everybody saw the train wreck that was Lindsay and Carl. And I think people were relieved when they didn't get married versus shocked that they didn't get married. So there is that. But again, she's like, oh, Carl, you know, he's a monster and he was cheating on me and blah, 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 blah. And he like had the receipts and he was like, no, I wasn't. I pray for you, Lindsay. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Lindsay, calm down, take a breath, take a beat. You're a new mom, chill out. Like, you don't need to be the next Ariana. Like, just chill. Carl's not a monster. He's not a narcissist. He's not these horrible things. To me, Carl is a guy who, and by the way, Carl, Soft Bar is a cafe. It's not a bar. Okay, it's not a bar, it's a cafe, an establishment where people gather to drink non-alcoholic beverages is called a cafe. All right. But I'll give it to you. It's a non-alcoholic bar. Sure. I'll give it to you. But to me, Carl just seems really sweet. I don't think Carl has ever had any bad intentions towards anyone. I think he's trying to find his way, maintain his sobriety. And to me, Carl just has a really sweet heart and a really good spirit. And I think Lindsay just needs to sort of calm down and focus on being a mom and figuring out her next move. Is it Summer House next season? I don't know. I don't know. So who knows? Now, when it comes to Emerald, again, I don't know who's doing the casting. I didn't think Bailey was the right casting. I didn't think Lexi was the right casting. I don't think Lexi was right for Summer House. I see Lexi on Love is Blind. I see her on Too Hot to Handle. I see her on Love Island, something along those lines. Maybe I would see her on the Vanderpump spinoff, on the Vanderpump reboot. I could see her on Vanderpump Rules reboot. I think she would have been perfect for that. I don't see her on Summer House. I feel like Summer House has really lost its way. I don't know what this group of people are, but I don't think it's working anymore. Emerald. All right. The thing with Emerald is this. I personally, and this is just me, how I am, I would meet Emerald with compassion rather than criticism and judgment and anger. But again, Paige and Ciara and Amanda, they're just nasty women. They're just mean, and they're bitter and angry. And I don't know why. They're beautiful and rich and on TV. I don't know why they're so angry. But they just got so angry with him and so mad. You're bringing all these girls over and have respect for the house and get an STD check and like all this stuff. And they haven't really even stopped to try to get to know him. And they haven't really stopped to know the why of what he's doing. Again, caveat, I am not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing anybody. This is just my opinion, observation on him. Maybe he's an SEX addict. I think there's something going on underneath the bringing all the women home and the threesomes and the foursomes and the SEX parties and all the swinging. I think that there's something underneath that. There's a sadness to him. There's something, I don't know. There's a vulnerability and a core sadness that I see in Emerald, some type of hole. And I think he's trying to fill it with sex and all this stuff, right? And so to me, I would, instead of berating him, I would say, hey, you want to grab a coffee and talk? What do you get out of these women or these experiences? Or what was your childhood like? Or what are you looking for in life? Let's get to know each other. They haven't made any attempt to actually welcome him into the group or get to know him before judging him. And at the end of the day, he's a grown man living in a house. If he wants to have sex with 100 women in a day, he could. If you don't like it, call a house meeting and make house rules. But until you have house rules, he can do what he wants. The women are consenting. He's consenting. He can do whatever he wants. Okay? He can do what he wants. Lay off. So I feel like I just look at, and his whole story about, I was undocumented from 6 to 23 and I didn't feel seen. So now I'm doing what I want to feel seen. I'm not saying that's BS, because I do think that's his truth, but I think that is his cover story for why he's so promiscuous. I don't think that's the real reason why he's promiscuous. I think that there's something else. Maybe something happened to him. Again, I don't know. This is just speculation. This is just me thinking out loud. I don't know. So I'm not putting that on him. I'm not saying that is true. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, people who usually are this promiscuous across, because he's, it's usually based in some unhealed, unaddressed trauma that they're trying to run away from or numb or reconcile with. And that's what it's given. So instead of going at this man in such a hateful, angry, judgy way, why don't you have a little bit of compassion and try to get to know him and talk to him? Because it doesn't seem like any of the girls are even trying. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And again, to me, that's why I'm like, ugh, miss me with all of this. Miss me, miss me, miss me. So that's kind of where I landed with the show. Let me see if I missed anything. I think that was it. Let me see. Yeah, I think that was it. All right, so I'm going to take be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And now I'm going to take your candy cane questions and comments. And I'll drop the link in case any